Okay, Randy Habert here at Lake Elsinore Diamond with pitching coach for the Inland Empire 66's Charlie Hough. Now, Charlie, you've been in this game since 1966. How do you keep your enthusiasm with these guys?
Every game's fun. Every baseball game I think I've ever been to has been a lot of fun. And to watch a kid do well here and move up makes all the tough afternoons in the heat all worth it.
No doubt. Now, the knuckleball, was that self-taught for you, or did somebody help you with that?
A couple of guys, a minor league pitching coach. I had pitched 4 seasons in the minor leagues up to AA. I hurt my shoulder, and the minor league pitching coach suggested I try a knuckleball, and Tommy Lasorda was my manager and worked on it a little bit with me. And that 1 year, first year I ever threw it, I ended up in the big leagues.
Now, is pitching as mental as hitting is?
I think it might be more, really? Especially starting pitching, because you have a rough day. And it's 5 days for the next one, and you have another one. It feels like you've had an awful month. Hitting, at least you can, bounce back a little bit. You get 3-4 shots a night at it, but pitching, you have a bad inning, it's all over.
Do a lot of guys come to you from this team and the previous teams to maybe have you teach them the knuckleball?
No, not really, and rightfully so. It's hard to do, and you really have to sacrifice everything else to throw it well. You have to become a knuckleball pitcher. I've worked with a few guys, but none of our guys really.
Now, you had a great career, or a very, very solid career at the very least, going 216, 216 as a professional. But it seems like everybody remembers you for the World Series and Reggie Jackson, even though you only give up 1 of the 3. What is it about that home run that seems to stay in everybody's mind when you mention Charlie Hough?
Well, it was pretty dramatic. Let's put it that way. Nobody mentions, I pitched the inning before. I think I struck out a couple in the inning before. He just had as he is, a Hall of Fame night in the biggest stage you can have it. And I was trying to strike him out, I can tell you that. I wanted to get him out, and he just nailed it.
Now, you've been known to throw the knuckleball for about 80% of the time during your pitching outings. What would you say the percentage of those knuckleballs were for strikes?
Oh, not enough, that's for sure. I have no idea. I just never bothered with percentages or anything. I just tried to get them out the best way I could. When I was older, I threw more fastballs and sliders than I did when I was a kid, just so I wouldn't walk as many. So
later on, would you say you were pitching to contact more than to a location?
Tried to. Tried to let them hit it. Tried to make them hit it. I had a pitch that was very difficult to hit if you could throw it right, and that's the key there, is to be able to throw it right.
Now, how much was the wind a factor at different stadiums that you played at in terms of your knuckleball being able to get that good bite and good drop?
In the big leagues, it's not too bad. I mean, not Fenway, Candlestick Park in San Francisco was tough. Wrigley in Chicago could be tough, but most big league ballparks are enclosed enough that between the mound and home plate, there's not a lot of wind, and I love pitching in the domes, any of the domes.
Right, until they put the air conditioning on, and then...
Yeah. Well, I even like that. That's perfect.
Now, recently, Charlie Hough was down from the big club, and did you get a chance to work with him, and is his grip the same as yours?
Similar, pretty much the same grip, a little bit different spot on the ball. But I don't think the actual spot on the ball means much. It's just where it's comfortable, or it fits your hand right. There's been some pretty good pitchers throwing a knuckleball with different grips. The key is to be able to throw it where it doesn't spin. Lately, he's been kind of got out of whack, and he's been spinning a little bit. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It seems like sometimes knuckleballs tend to get out of whack. And how did they get back to where they were previously before falling off? What is it? Is it the grip? Is it just a release point? What's the factor there? Well, it's the hand action through the ball, and a lot of times it's just the team you're on. If the manager can be patient enough with you, where he can kind of sit back and maybe withstand a couple of bad beatings, you'll eventually, if you're pretty good, you're going to get it. And that, unfortunately with Hager right now, that's kind of where he's been. He's got a sore foot, and he hadn't been throwing good. So I think we're even going to get him again tomorrow. Now, you were kind of like an aberration for knuckleball pitchers in the sense that your ERA for your career was like 3.7, and it seems like a lot of the higher ERAs just come with guys who throw the knuckleball. Well, I don't know about that. had a decent ERA. I mean, I lost a lot of games at the end of my career when I was in my middle 40s, early 40s, and I pitched the whole time with a sore arm. So I never even think about stuff like that.
Yeah. And now, what about as far as the pitching coaches that you've had along the way? Were they able to work with you because you threw a pitch that pretty much nobody else did, or you kind of off on your own at times?
Well, you kind of coach yourself on it, but I was pretty lucky. I had some really good pitching coaches through my career, and I didn't play for that many different teams, so I never had anyone that certainly hurt me at all. I mean, they were all good.
Right. And the best catcher for catching your knuckleball, who's the best catcher that had the biggest mitt out there and seemed to be able to corral anything?
Pretty simple. I think it was Steve Yeager. I think Steve was the best catcher I ever seen.
Wow. In fact, I was talking to Jerry Royce not last week, and he said the same thing. He said, without a doubt, Steve Yeager is one of the best catchers that he's ever thrown to, and really doesn't get the kind of notice that he should as far as being a great defensive catcher.
Well, he was just in an era where there's some pretty big names catching in the National League with Sanguine and Bench, but Steve Yeager could catch with anybody.
Okay. Thank you so much for being part of SoCal Go Live, and good luck to you and the Inland Empire 66ers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, that was Charlie Hough here at the Lake Elsinore Storm Diamond, and that's a lot of experience there, and these young men are very, very lucky to have a guy like Charlie Hough day in and day out working with them. And no doubt he'll get them straight real, real soon.